But as Nexfest came and went, hopeful developers got a chance to showcase whatever they've been working on. And boy, did they show. For real, there were maybe thousands of demos. I could be exaggerating. It was at least high hundreds. But whatever that brain thing is that makes me spend more time looking through the Netflix catalog than I spend actually watching a show, yeah, there was that, a lot of that. But luckily, Steam added the function to search by tags, and it only took them like 10 years, and combining the tags doesn't work. And it refuses to acknowledge my filtered tags, so it's constantly trying to sell me weird, cartoony porn games. It's called hentai. But to break the Netflix catalog curse, I was able to narrow it down and find a few titles in my favorite genres, which are roguelikes and movement shooters. If it has procedural generation and RNG in any combination, if it has synergies between power-ups, if there's any handful of mechanics that together allow you to do something like run a build, I'm fucking into it. One of the things I like most about roguelikes is that they give you a different experience every time you run through the game. For the most part, eventually you get to a point where you've put hundreds of hours into them, like seriously hundreds of hours. Like you spend so much time on these games that you get behind on other things in your life, like laundry, dishes, bills. You lose a bunch of weight. Nobody responds to your messages anymore. I'm confident that all of us, every person, has experienced the same thing that I'm explaining right now. I like the progression in most of these games, where you scrounge every bit of the levels like a little loot raccoon, looking for some kind of currency, usually, that you can use to unlock permanent upgrades in between runs. But the real fun starts in these kinds of games when you get to what we call synergy. That's when the items that you pick up have complementary effects to other items or skills or whatever that you have. Like a grenade that causes enemies to freeze, and you find a bow that does 250% extra damage to frozen enemies. Or you find like a enchanted medallion that gives you +2 horniness, and then you find a pill that gives your enemies a boner. I have some questions for you. 1. Are you into neon-soaked dystopian cityscapes? 2. Do you like to move around very fast and a lot? 3. Do you know my dad? If your answer to 2 out of 3 of those questions is yes, you should wishlist this game. From the moment you spawn, you take off down the dingy, trash-filled alleyways, impatiently dashing around, jumping up, and punching destructibles, like a football player getting hyped running out onto the field.
Oh, Joe, that ain't good enough. Come on, Joe! Thank you, baby! Thank you, make it blow!
The first few rounds make you feel like an absolute monster pro MLG gamer. But they do a fantastic job of like lubing you up for the later rooms. And after each room, you get a mega pint of that sweet gamba in the form of 2 or 3 reward choices. Some of the rewards are the currencies that you use to unlock upgrades, but it being a demo, there aren't very many of those at the moment. So sometimes you get 2 choices, and choice 1 is a useless currency, and choice 2 is a useless currency, so there's a bit of a crypto trading simulator thrown in there too. It does take place in the future after all. Either way, your starting loadout works PDG. That's pretty damn good for those of you who haven't read my book. ATMYLEAMC. Acronyms to make your life easier and more cool. Now, I'm not usually a shotgun guy, or for that matter, a rocket launcher guy, but the shotgun and rocket launcher in this game, they fuck. The shotgun has a more realistic range. You know how in most Rudy Tooty shooties, shotguns are really only effective if you're close enough to smell your opponent's hair already? Well, this one has a pretty satisfying range and damage as long as you're landing headshots. The only complaint I have is how long it takes to reload and how often you'll have to be doing that. Well, you do have to reload the shotgun. Ammo is otherwise infinite. When you kill marked enemies or smash some orbage, some ammo gets put directly back into your magazine. So, hypothetically, it's possible to avoid reloading for the most part as long as you have some targets to kill. The rocket launcher, on the other hand, has finite ammo, and you don't reload it, but you pick up ammo pretty much the same way. One of the cool things about the rocket launcher is it does push you around in the air like an overzealous bouncer when you've only had 2 skinny teenies, and he's just jealous of your drip because he also has a dumb haircut. So that's fun. As for mobility, you have a dash and a double jump. Pretty standard stuff. You can have multiple dashes, but they're on a cooldown, and it plays a little beep when it's off of cooldown, but as some other people have pointed out, it's kind of hard to hear when you got a bunch of shit going on around you. The double jump does exactly what it says on the tin. You jump, then you jump again. I found that the jump does like maintain your momentum when you're sailing around from the launch pads, which are scattered about every level, or grappled to an orb to fling yourself skyward high enough to tickle Jesus' feet. He hates that. But the dash will kill your momentum. I don't really know what else would make sense, I guess. I don't know the lore of the dash. Is it a rocket booster? Is it magic? Do you have a little man in your backpack who himself has a rocket booster? And you gotta feed him, like, cyber Cheetos to keep him calm, because otherwise he bites your robot ears. You have 3 skills at the moment, at least with the first combat shell, all 3 of which mark enemies. There's a mechanic called marking in this game. Those of you who played Doom Eternal will be familiar with this one. It makes them glow and makes them visible through walls, but more importantly, it ensures that if they die while marked, they explode in a shower of ammo, shield, and sometimes money. Unlike in real life, where if you try and mark people, they only explode in anger and emasculate you in the parking lot of the Arby's where your ex is working. You have a grapple, which will stun enemies and pull you to them. And it drops you right in front of them, so you can let your shotgun whisper secrets into their mouths, or their 4th ear, as I like to call them. The scrambler is like a palm blast that stuns enemies like a telekinetic crossing guard, and the grenade is about as grenadey as you can hope for. You throw it in an arc, it explodes, and it tags and damages enemies. Unless you have one of the elemental damage varieties, then it doesn't tag them, and it only does either electric, fire, or poison damage. No emotional damage grenade in the build that I played, though. They'll probably add that later. The main power-up system uses implants. Your shell has 4 slots for these implants, and they're triggered by different actions depending on the slot, which has to coincide with like a power level that the implants also have. You have 1 slot that's triggered by switching your weapon, 1 that's triggered by your scrambler, 1 that's triggered by your grappler, and 1 for breaking an orb. Most implants have an active and a passive effect, the active activating on the requisite action. That was fun to say. And the passive applies even if you don't. Bugs. The passive applies when you have the implant equipped in any slot, even if it doesn't have the right power level and you can't use the active effect of that implant. You can also buy more slots for each implant at the shop, but if you share my affliction of lizard brain with an attempt at foresight, you'll end up rolling the dice and buying slots you don't need yet, only to realize your mistake a couple rooms later. Alright, now that I've gushed like a K-pop fan on 3 a.m. Twitter, I'm gonna go over some negatives. Keep in mind this is like a demo, a demo man's demo, a for real demo, no cap. It's basically like a pre-alpha, which means in a few years the game probably won't look anything like with the demo that we're playing right now. I think Dead Cells used to be a tower defense game, for example. And I think Mario used to like work at a Petco or something. I don't know. There weren't many in terms of negatives, if I'm being honest. One enemy type. It's a teleporting Zora robot that goes invincible and throws homing knives. I believe they call it the geisha. Generally speaking, you like run away and they'll teleport to where you're at and not be invincible, so you have a few seconds to fuck them up or stun them. Which the move is probably to stun them when they get close, and then you can kill them. I'm not just realizing that now after hours of playing the demo. What do you mean? But the problem I had is sometimes they would teleport to me and just immediately chug the shield potion and be invincible. Or alternately, I'd be in a certain room where they would teleport to a special place in the middle, and then it seemed like I couldn't get far away enough to make them teleport to me again and therefore drop their shield. So they were just camping in the middle of the arena, throwing out knives for like
20 goddamn fucking minutes.
But all in all, the demo is very good. It's great, even. Some would say it's the best. It checks every box that makes my little gamer brain quiver, and I can't wait for it to hit early access. Hit up their Discord, Twitter, and wishlist the game on Steam. While I'm telling you what to do, remember to hit the subscribe button and like this video, and tell your animals I said hello, and pet them for me, and kiss your dad on the lips, and can I borrow some Tupperware? Mine is all molded. I will give it back. I promise.